Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. Not because it's complicated, not because it's hit, but because it's uncomfortable. Your legacy will not be defined by what you say you want. It won't be defined by what you start. It won't even be defined by what you do when you feel motivated. Your legacy will be defined by what you do consistently, especially on the days when nobody is watching, when nobody is clapping, when nobody cares. Everybody loves motivation. Motivation feels good. Motivation gets good. Motivation gets applause. Motivation gets likes, shares, and comments. But motivation is emotional, and emotions change. One day you're fired up, the next day you're tired. One day you believe, the next day you doubt. Consistency is different. Consistency is discipline. Consistency is discipline. Consistency is showing up when motivation didn't come with you. You don't build a legacy by feeling good once in a while. You build it by showing up when you're exhausted, when you're broke, when the results aren't visible yet. Champions are not consistent because they are always inspired. They are inspired because they stay consistent long enough to see the results. Talent might open the door for you, but consistency is what keeps that door open. There are talented people everywhere. People smarter than you, faster than you, more gifted than you. Talent is common. What's rare is reliability. Legacy doesn't ask how talented you were. Legacy asks how dependable you were. When people hear your name, do they think of someone who was good sometimes or someone who could be counted on every single time? Consistency makes you trustworthy, and trust is the foundation of every great legacy. Nobody celebrates repetition. Nobody claps for routine. Nobody praises the boring days. But those boring days are doing something powerful. They are building trust with yourself. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, you're telling yourself, I can be trusted. And if you can't trust yourself, don't expect the world to trust you. Your legacy isn't built on the highlight moments. It's built on the practice nobody saw, the work nobody posted, the effort nobody rewarded at the time. Everybody has a reason. Everybody has an excuse. Traffic, weather, mood, people, circumstances. But legacy doesn't care about excuses. Discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. Every excuse you make today removes a brick from the future you're trying to build. One day people won't remember why it was hard for you. They will only see what you built or what you failed to build. Excuses erase legacy. Discipline preserves it. You don't fall behind because you're slow. You fall behind because you're inconsistent. Legacy is not built in leaps. It's built in steps. Small actions done daily create massive outcomes over time. Nobody becomes legendary overnight. They become legendary by doing the ordinary longer than everyone else was willing to do it. Consistency turns time into your greatest advantage. Quitting feels temporary, but its consequences are permanent. Every time you quit, you teach your future self that it's okay to stop when it gets uncomfortable. Legacy requires enduring. It requires staying power. It requires finishing what you started. You don't need a new plan. You don't need a new strategy. You need a deeper commitment to the path you already chose. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you are writing your story. Your habits are writing your biography. What you do daily becomes who you are eventually. Consistency is character in motion. One day people will look at your life and ask how it happened. The answer won't be one big moment. It will be thousands of small decisions keep going when stopping was easier. Here's the unspoken truth most people avoid. Legacy is not something you leave behind someday, you leave behind someday. Legacy is something you live right now. Consistency shapes who you become, and who you become determines what you leave behind. When the crowd disappears, when the applause fades, when nobody is there to validate you, will you still show up? Because that version of you, the one who shows up anyway, that's the version history remembers. You don't need more motivation. You need more consistency. Do it tired. Do it scared. Do it without recognition. Do it when nobody is watching. Because long after motivation is forgotten, consistency will still be speaking your name. And that is how your legacy is defined. Everybody loves motivation. Let's just be honest about that. Motivation feels good. Motivation gives you a rush. Motivation makes your chest feel big. Makes you feel like today is the day everything is going to change. Motivation makes you stand up, clap, shout, post quotes, share videos, and tell everybody, This is my year. Motivation gets applause. Motivation gets people cheering for you before you've done anything. Motivation is exciting, emotional, loud, and that's exactly why so many people are addicted to it. But here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. Motivation is temporary. Motivation is unstable. Motivation comes and goes with your mood, your energy, your sleep, your bank balance, and how people treat you. Motivation is there when the music is playing and the lights are on. Motivation is there when the speaker is shouting and the crowd is hyped. But motivation has a bad habit of disappearing the moment real life shows up. Consistency doesn't feel good. Consistency doesn't get applause. Consistency doesn't get celebrated in the beginning. Consistency is quiet. Consistency is boring. Consistency is repetitive. Consistency is doing the same thing again and again when nobody is clapping, when nobody is watching, when nobody is saying your name. That's why most people avoid it. They want the feeling without the foundation. They want the applause without the process. They want the results without the repetition. Motivation will make you start. Consistency will make you finish. Motivation will make you talk. Consistency will make you walk it out. Motivation will make you promise the world. Consistency will make you deliver. And legacy is built on delivery, not promises. See, motivation works when things are easy. Motivation works when you're rested, when you're inspired, when things are going your way. But the world doesn't reward you for what you do when it's easy. The world rewards you for what you do when it's hard. The results you want are hidden behind days you don't feel like showing up. And motivation will not be enough to carry you through those days. That's why you see so many people start strong and finish nowhere. January gyms are packed. February gyms are packed. February gyms are empty. Everybody was motivated. Very few were consistent. Everybody said they want to change. Very few were willing to earn it daily. Motivation got applause. Consistency would have gotten results. Consistency is not sexy. Consistency doesn't make for viral moments in the beginning. Nobody claps when you wake up early every day. Nobody cheers when you read, train, practice, study, or work in silence. Nobody throws you a party for doing what you said you were going to do. But those silent moments are stacking. Those quiet days are adding up. And one day, the results will speak so loud that no applause will be needed. Motivation is external. It depends on something outside of you. A speech, a video, a quote, a song, a moment. Consistency is internal. It comes from a decision you made with yourself. A decision that says, oh, no matter how I feel, this is who I am. When consistency becomes part of your identity, results become inevitable. Most people are waiting to feel motivated before they act. Consistent people act regardless of how they feel. That's the difference. Consistent people understand something most people don't. Feelings are unreliable. Discipline is dependable. Feelings change. Commitments don't, or at least they should. Motivation says, I'll do it when I feel like it. Consistency says, I'll do it because I said I would. Motivation asks, so am I inspired today? Consistency asks, oh, what needs to be done today? Motivation wants excitement. Consistency wants progress. And progress is what creates results. You don't get in shape from one intense workout when you're motivated. You get in shape from showing up even on days you feel weak. You don't build a business from one great idea when you're inspired. You build it by executing daily when nobody is buying yet. You don't master a skill from one emotional burst of effort. You master it through repetition when improvement feels slow. Motivation gets applause. Consistency gets results. Here's another truth that hurts a little. Motivation can lie to you. Motivation can make you feel productive without actually being productive. You can watch videos, read quotes, listen to speeches, and feel like you're moving forward while your life stays the same. Consistency doesn't let you hide. Consistency forces action. Consistency forces effort. Consistency forces accountability. A motivated person talks about the dream. A consistent person works on the dream. A motivated person announces their goals. A consistent person builds quietly. A motivated person needs encouragement. A consistent person creates momentum. Momentum doesn't come from hype. Momentum comes from repetition. Doing it once doesn't change your life. Doing it daily does. Results don't respond to intensity. Results respond to frequency. What you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while. And let's be real. The reason people chase motivation is because consistency requires sacrifice. Consistency requires you to say no. Consistency requires you to show up when you're tired. Consistency requires you to work without guarantees. Motivation lets you feel powerful without paying that price. But feelings don't pay bills. Feelings don't build legacy. Feelings don't change bloodlines. Results don't care how motivated you were. Results care how consistent you were. Results don't ask how passionate you felt. Results ask how many times you showed up. Results don't respond to intention. Results respond to actions repeated over time. That's why two people can hear the same speech, feel the same motivation, and end up in completely different places. One uses motivation as fuel to build consistency. The other uses motivation as entertainment and waits for the next dose. One gets results. The other gets applause and excuses. Consistency is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Motivation can point you toward the bridge, but consistency is the only thing that will get you across it. You cannot jump consistency. You cannot replace it. You cannot shortcut it. You must walk it step by step, day by day. And here's the part most people miss. Consistency doesn't just change your results. It changes you. It changes how you see yourself. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, your confidence grows. Not fake confidence grows. Not fake confidence. Real confidence. Confidence built on evidence. Evidence that you can be trusted. Evidence that you finish what you start. Evidence that you don't fold under pressure. Motivation makes you feel confident. Consistency makes you become confident. There's a difference. When you're consistent, you stop needing external validation. You don't need applause because you know what you're doing behind the scenes. You don't need likes because you're seeing progress. You don't need people to believe in you because you believe in yourself through your actions. Consistency builds character, and character produces results that last. Motivation produces moments. Consistency produces momentum. Motivation produces excitement. Consistency produces excellence. If motivation were enough, everyone who ever felt inspired would be successful. But inspiration is common. Results are rare. What separates the rare from the common is consistency. So stop chasing motivation like it's the answer. Use motivation when it shows up, but don't depend on it. Build systems, build habits, build routines. Decide who you are and show up as that person every day, whether you feel like it or not. Because at the end of the day, nobody is going to ask how motivated you were. They're going to look at what you built. They're going to look at what you achieved. They're going to look at the results. And results only come to those who are willing to be consistent long after the applause stopped. Talent will get you noticed. Talent will make people turn their heads. Talent will make rooms go quiet when you walk in. Talent has a way of announcing itself without saying a word. And because of that, a lot of people fall in love with their talent. They start believing that what they were born with is enough to carry them through life. They start thinking that because they're gifted, the world owes them opportunities. Then yes, talent can open doors. Talent can give you access. Talent can put you in room you never imagined stepping in. But here is the unspoken truth most people learn too late. Talent does not guarantee permanence. Talent gets you in the room, but it does not guarantee you'll stay there. Doors open every day for talented people. Doors also close every day on talented people. Not because they lost their ability, but because they failed to protect the opportunity with consistency. The world is full of gifted individuals who were once a next up, once the future, once someone to watch. And now they're just a story that starts with a way to weapon to. Not because they weren't talented enough, but because they weren't disciplined enough to sustain what their talent started. Talent is potential. Consistency is proof. Potential excites people. Proof earns trust. And trust is what keeps doors open. When someone gives you an opportunity, they're not just investing in your ability, they're investing in your reliability. They're asking a silent question. Can I count on you again tomorrow, next week, next year? Talent answers the first question. Consistency answers all the rest. You see, talent shines in moments. Consistency shines over time. Talent looks good on day one. Consistency looks good on day 100, on day 1,000, on the days when the excitement is gone and the pressure is high And legacy is built in time, not moments. That's why consistency matters more than people are willing to admit. There are people with less talent than you who are further than you right now. Not because they're luckier, not because they're more connected, but because they showed up when you didn't. They practiced when you rested. They prepared when you assumed. They stayed humble when you got comfortable. Talent made you visible. Consistency made them unstoppable. Talent can make you confident. Consistency makes you credible. Confidence without credibility fades quickly. People admire talent, but they depend on consistency. And when it comes time to choose who gets the next opportunity, who gets the promotion, who gets the platform, who gets trusted with more responsibility, it's rarely the most talented person. It's the most consistent one. Consistency says, you don't have to wonder about me. Consistency says, you don't have to remind me. Consistency says, you don't have to chase me. That kind of reputation keeps doors open even when mistakes happen. Because consistent people are given grace. Talented but inconsistent people are given warnings, then replacements. So, talent can make you special. Consistency makes you valuable. And value is what people protect. Value is what people invest in. Value is what people keep around when things get difficult. Talent alone is impressive. Consistency is indispensable. Here's the hard part. Talent often creates entitlement. It makes people feel like effort is optional. It makes people feel like showing up is negotiable. It makes people feel like they don't have to work as hard as others because they're naturally good. And that mindset quietly destroys opportunities. Because while you're relying on what you were born with, someone else is building what they earn. Consistency humbles you. It reminds you that no matter how gifted you are, results still require repetition. Results still require preparation. Results still require sacrifice. The higher the door your talent open, the more consistency is required to stay inside that space. Bigger opportunities demand stronger discipline. Talent gets attention quickly. Consistency earns respect slowly. And respect lasts longer than attention. Attention comes and goes. Respect builds roots. When people respect your consistency, they don't just open doors for you, they hold them open. They recommend you when you're not in the room. They defend your name when you're not there to defend it yourself. Inconsistent talent creates stress. Consistent effort creates peace. When people can't predict you, they hesitate to trust you. When people can predict your work ethic, your preparation, your presence, they relax around you. They know what they're getting. That predictability is power. Talent makes people curious about you. Consistency makes people confident in you. Curiosity fades quickly. Confidence grows over time. And confidence is what leads to bigger platforms, longer careers, deeper impact. There are opportunities you lost that had nothing to do with your ability. They had everything to do with your follow-through, a missed deadline, a half-finished project, a moment where you didn't show up fully prepared. Those moments don't seem big at the time, but they quietly close doors you didn't even realize were still open. Consistency protects opportunity. It protects relationships. It protects trust. Talent can impress once. Consistency impresses every time. And over time, consistency becomes your signature. People stop talking about how gifted you are and start talking about how dependable you are. And that shift changes everything. Here's another truth people don't like. Talent makes you replaceable. Consistency makes you irreplaceable. There will always be someone more talented than you. Faster, smarter, stronger, younger. But it's hard to replace someone who always shows up, always prepares, always delivers. Consistency creates security in a world that is constantly changing. Talent might open the door to success, but consistency builds the house. Talent gets you invited. Consistency gets you remembered. Talent might introduce you to the opportunity. Consistency makes the opportunity introduce you to others. And don't get it twisted. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means commitment. It means effort. It means ownership. It means when you mess up, you don't disappear. You adjust and you show up again. That alone separates professionals from amateurs. The world is patient with consistent people. The world is impatient with inconsistent ones. Because inconsistency feels like disrespect. It feels like you don't value the opportunity, and no one keeps doors open for people who don't value what they're given. Talent says, look at what I can do. And what you always do defines your reputation, decides how long doors stay open, temptation decides how long doors stay open. If you want access, develop your talent. If you want longevity, develop your discipline. If you want opportunity, sharpen your skill. If you want legacy, sharpen your habits. Talent creates the moment. Consistency creates the movement. So don't fall in love with your gift and forget your grind. Don't assume doors will stay open just because they open once. Every day is an audition, not for attention, but for trust. And trust is earned through consistency. In the end, history doesn't remember who had the most talent. History remembers who stayed, who endured, who delivered year after year when others faded away. Talent opened the door. Consistency kept it open. And that is the difference between a moment of success and a lifetime of impact. Nobody sees the boring days. Nobody talks about them. Nobody posts them on social media. Nobody makes highlight reels about them. They're invisible. They're quiet. They're repetitive. They're uncomfortable. And yet, if you want to build anything that lasts, anything that matters, those boring days are where the real work happens. Legacy is not built on fireworks. It's not built on firework moments. It's not built on one great idea or a single perfect performance. Legacy is built in the grind, in the repetition, in the hours when no one is paying attention. Those days where you have to choose to show up, even though your energy is low, even though you're tired, even though you want to quit, even though the world doesn't notice. That is where the foundation is laid. Most people are addicted to the applause. They want to feel important. They want recognition. They want people to notice their effort. They want likes, shares, claps, cheers, and validation. And there's nothing wrong with feeling proud of your work. But if you depend on external validation to keep going, you will never last. Because the truth is, the world doesn't care about your grind. Not at first, not on the boring days. And those who can show up anyway, despite the lack of applause, those are the ones who build legacies. The boring days are full of repetition. They are full of routines, habits, small actions done consistently over time. You don't wake up one day and find yourself a master. You don't wake up one day and discover your business has grown itself or your skills have improved magically. It happens slowly, one day after another, quietly, without fanfare. And the reason most people fail is that they get impatient. They think if they don't see results right away, the effort isn't worth it. But it is. The boring days are paying dividends you don't see yet. They are accumulating quietly. They are compounding into momentum that will eventually be unstoppable. Think about athletes. Think about the person who becomes great at their sport. You see the highlight reel on television and you think it's effortless. You see the game-winning shot or the perfect performance and you admire it. But nobody shows you the hours, weeks, months, and years spent in repetition. Nobody talks about the thousands of shots missed before the one that counted. Nobody celebrates the early mornings, the late nights, the drills, the exercises, the weight training, the conditioning. Those days are boring. They are monotonous, but they are where the greatness is forged. Legacy is forged in the boring days. Think about musicians. You hear the final song and you think it came together effortlessly. You hear the perfect pitch, the perfect tone, the flawless execution, and you feel inspired. But you don't hear about the hours spent practicing scales, the mistakes, the off notes, the repetitions of the same song again and again until it became perfect. Those are the boring days. Those are the days nobody sees. And those are the days that separate someone who has talent from someone who has greatness. Talent is visible. Greatness is built quietly in the shadows of repetition. The boring days are also the days that test you. Motivation is high when things are exciting. Motivation is high when people are watching. Motivation is high when results are visible. But life is not always exciting. Life is not always glamorous. Life is not always rewarding in the moment. Those are the days that define character. Those are the days that define discipline. Those are the days that determine whether you will show up when no one is clapping. And it is showing up on those days that builds a legacy. There's a temptation to give up during the boring days. There is a temptation to quit, to delay, to distract yourself with something more fun, more exciting, more visible. That temptation is what separates ordinary people from extraordinary people. Ordinary people give up when it's hard. Extraordinary people show up anyway. They do the work when nobody sees. They do the work when nobody notices. They do the work because they have made a commitment to themselves. And that commitment is more important than applause. That commitment is more important than instant gratification. That commitment is more important than temporary feelings. Consistency is not exciting. It is not glamorous. It does not make headlines, but it creates results. And results are what build legacy. It is the boring days that create momentum. It is the boring days that separate those who talk from those who do. It is the boring days that determine who finishes the race and who drops out. The world will notice the results, not the process, but the process is what matters. And if you neglect the boring days, you will never get the results. Most people misunderstand hard work. They think hard work is only the dramatic, high-intensity, visible effort. They think hard work is the heroic moments, the all-nighters, the last-minute push. But real hard work is the boring work. It is the preparation, the repetition, the commitment to show up day after day. It is the quiet effort, the small improvements, the daily grind. Real hard work is invisible until the results become undeniable. And legacy is made in those invisible moments. The boring days also teach patience. They teach you to trust the process. They teach you that progress is often invisible, that growth is often slow, and that the only way to achieve greatness is to keep going even when you don't feel it, even when you don't see it, even when the world isn't paying attention. Patience is one of the most underrated qualities in building a legacy. People want instant recognition, instant results, instant validation. But legacy is never instant. Legacy is built slowly, one boring day at a time, until eventually it becomes undeniable. Your character is formed in the boring days, when nobody is watching, when there's no applause, when there are no fans cheering you on, you are left with yourself. And how you respond in those moments defines who you are. Do you show up? Do you do the work? Do you honor the commitments you made to yourself, or do you give up, make excuses, and disappear? The boring days test your integrity. They test your discipline. They test your persistence. And it is persistence through the boring days that creates legacy. Many people look for shortcuts. Many people want to skip the boring days. They think that if they can just find the right hack, the right shortcut, the right opportunity, they will achieve greatness without the grind. But shortcuts never lead to lasting results. They may give you temporary success, but they do not build the foundation. They do not develop the character. They do not create the momentum needed to sustain impact over time. Legacy is not about shortcuts. Legacy is about showing up day after day consistently through the boring days, through the hard days, through the invisible days, until greatness is inevitable, even when things feel mundane, even when the work feels repetitive, even when you feel like you're not making progress. You have to remember that the boring days are compounded. Every repetition, every practice, every effort adds up. Every time you choose to show up when you don't feel like it, you are building reserves for your future self. You are creating momentum that will eventually carry you past the obstacles that would have stopped someone else. You are building a foundation that nobody sees, but everyone will eventually benefit from. The boring days also develop resilience. When things get difficult, when life gets heavy, when setbacks happen, it is your resilience that will carry you forward. And resilience is forged in the boring days. It is forged in repetition. It is forged in small, consistent effort when nobody is cheering you on. It is forged in the habit of showing up even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it feels unnecessary. The boring days are the forge where your strength is made. Don't underestimate the power of showing up quietly, consistently, and without fanfare. Many people fail not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack the commitment to the boring days. They want the applause, the recognition, the moment. But it is the invisible effort, the preparation, the persistence, and the repetition that separates those who achieve lasting impact from those who fade away. The boring days are the engine of legacy. When you embrace the boring day, you stop relying on motivation. Motivation is fleeting. Motivation depends on excitement. Motivation depends on circumstances. Motivation comes and goes. The boring days teach you to rely on discipline. They teach you to rely on commitment. They teach you to rely on system. When you embrace the boring days, you stop needing inspiration. You start acting regardless of how you feel. And that's where transformation happens. The boring days also teach humility. They remind you that greatness is not about being seen. Greatness is about being faithful to the work. Greatness is about honoring the process, the practice, the daily effort. Greatness is about showing up when nobody cares, when nobody notices, when nobody understands. The boring days humble you because they strip away ego and force you to focus on the work itself, on the small actions that lead to extraordinary results over time. Your legacy will be defined not by the highlight reel, but by the accumulation of boring days. It will be defined by how many mornings you woke up early, by how many nights you stayed late, by how many times you chose to practice, to prepare, to work while the world slept, played, or ignored you. Your legacy will be defined by the repetition that nobody applauded, by the invisible efforts, by the commitment to showing up consistently, by the persistence through monotony, through discomfort, through obscurity. Many people fear the boring days. They want excitement, they want drama, they want recognition. But recognition comes after the boring days. Success comes after the boring days. Mastery comes after the boring days. And those who understand this, those who embrace it, those who persevere, those are the ones who leave a legacy that cannot be erased, a legacy that stands long after the applause has faded, long after the crowd is gone, long after the moment has passed. The boring days are where habits are formed. Habits are the foundation of long-term success. Habits are the invisible architecture that supports visible results. When you commit to showing up day after day, when you commit to practicing, studying, working, improving, the habits compound. And when habits compound over months and years, they create results that are undeniable. That is why legacy is built in the boring days. If you want to be remembered, if you want to achieve something that matters, you must embrace the boring days. You must fall in love with the process, not the applause. You must learn to find satisfaction in showing up, in doing the work, in improving quietly, consistently, and relentlessly. The boring days are your proving ground. The boring days are your training ground. The boring days are where the foundation of your impact is laid. When nobody sees your work, when nobody appreciates it, when nobody is cheering, you have a choice. You can quit, you can delay, you can look for shortcuts, or you can do the work anyway. And the people who do the work anyway are the ones who create history. They are the ones who build empires. They are the ones who become legends. They are the ones whose impact is felt for generations, and it all starts in the boring days. The boring days are also the days that prepare you for the unexpected. Life is unpredictable. Challenges will come. Setbacks will happen. Opportunities will appear suddenly. And when those moments arrive, it will be the work you did in the boring days that allows you to rise to the occasion. It is the foundation you built quietly that makes you strong when the spotlight hits. The boring days equip you to handle greatness. Your character is revealed in the boring days. Your discipline is tested in the boring days. Your commitment is proven in the boring days. And your results will reflect the effort you put in when nobody was watching. There are no shortcuts around the boring days. There is no way to skip them. They are mandatory. They are unavoidable. They are the crucible where ordinary people are transformed into extraordinary people. Every master, every champion, every person who left a lasting impact has endured the boring days. They have repeated, practiced, struggled, failed, corrected, and repeated again long before anyone noticed. And while the world only sees the final product, the highlight, the moment, the real story is in the countless boring days that made the outcome inevitable. If you want to build a legacy, stop seeking validation. Stop chasing applause. Stop waiting on people to notice your effort. Start falling in love with the boring days. Start committing to showing up when no one is watching. Start embracing repetition, discipline, patience, and persistence. The boring days are not wasted. The boring days are not meaningless. They are where you create the results that will make your life unforgettable. History is not made in moments. History is made in days, ordinary, boring, quiet, invisible days. They are the days nobody celebrates, but they are the days that matter most. They are the days that separate those who dream from those who achieve, those who start from those who finish, those who are remembered from those who are forgotten. If you are willing to honor the boring days, if you are willing to embrace them, if you are willing to show up no matter what, your legacy will be built. The boring days are the heart of greatness. They are where effort compounds, where skills improve, where habits form, where character is built. The boring days are where winners are made. If you want to be remembered, if you want to create impact, if you want to leave a mark, you have to endure, embrace, and excel in the boring days. They may be invisible now, they may feel unimportant, but they are the most important days of your life. Nobody sees the boring days, but those who endure them become unstoppable. Those who endure them create momentum that cannot be reversed. Those who endure them develop patience, persistence, discipline, and strength. Those who endure them write a story that will be remembered long after they are gone. That is why legacy is built in the boring days. The boring days are not a burden. They are an opportunity. They are a privilege. They are the laboratory where excellence is created. They are the field where ordinary effort is transformed into extraordinary results. They are the classroom where mastery is taught. And the people who understand this, the people who embrace this, the people who do the work when nobody is watching, those people create something permanent, something unforgettable, something that lifetime, your legacy is hidden in the boring days. Your greatness is forged there. Your discipline, your resilience, your strength, your character, your results, they all come from the days nobody saw. So stop waiting for recognition. Stop waiting for applause. Stop waiting for others. Stop waiting for others to validate your effort. Start showing up. Start doing the work. Start building quietly, consistently, relentlessly, because the boring days are where everything worth having is created, and the legacy you leave behind will be the direct result of how you handle the days nobody saw. Everybody has an excuse. Everybody has a reason why they can't do something today. Traffic was bad. I'm tired. I'm not ready. I start tomorrow. I didn't feel like it. My circumstances are unfair. My resources aren't enough. My family doesn't support me. The timing isn't right. The weather is bad. The world is against me. There is no shortage of reasons why people fail to act, why they stop, why they quit. And here's the unspoken truth that most people avoid. Every excuse you make, every reason you give, every time you choose comfort over commitment, you are erasing your legacy before it even has a chance to exist. Excuses don't just delay results. They destroy potential. They chip away at trust. They erode character. They whisper lies into your mind that tell you your dreams are not worth fighting for. Excuses are dangerous. They are seductive. They make you feel better in the moment, but they rob you of everything you're capable of becoming in the future. Discipline is the opposite of excuses. Discipline is the thing that shows up even when you don't feel like it. Discipline is the force that keeps you moving forward when your energy is low, when your motivation is gone, when your circumstances are rough. Discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. Discipline is the silent work that builds results while the world sleeps, while the people around you complain, while everyone else finds reasons not to do the work. Discipline preserves your legacy because it ensures that the choices you make today are aligned with the life you want tomorrow. Discipline is action. Excuses are inaction disguised as reasoning. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. Most people don't fail because they lack opportunity. Most people fail because they are experts in excuses. They are highly skilled at justifying why they can't, why it's too hard, why it's unfair. And every time you fall into that trap, you are rewriting your story with mediocrity. Every excuse you make is a decision to trade progress for comfort, to trade achievement for ease, to trade greatness for delay. Every time you choose excuses over action, you are teaching your mind that giving up is acceptable. You are teaching your future self that it's okay to quit when it's hard. You are erasing your own credibility with yourself. And if you can't trust yourself to show up, how can the world trust you? Excuses are lies you tell yourself to avoid responsibility. They are illusions that make you feel justified while your dreams slip further away. Every time you make an excuse, you are choosing temporary relief over long-term results. You may feel better in the moment. You may feel justified. You may feel like the world understands, but your future self will pay the price. Your dreams will pay the price. Your potential will pay the price. Every excuse is a tax on your future. And if you keep paying it day after day, month after month, year after year, there will come a moment when you wake up and realize you are living a life far below what you were capable of achieving. That's the harsh reality of excuses. Discipline preserves legacy because it rejects excuses. Discipline says, I will show up no matter what. Discipline says, I will do the work even when it's uncomfortable. Discipline says, I will honor my commitments even when no one is watching, even when the world doesn't reward me, even when it hurts. Discipline is choosing action over comfort. Discipline is taking responsibility for your results. Discipline is understanding that your future depends on what you do today, not on how you feel, not on what circumstances are present, not on who is supporting you, not on who is doubting you. Discipline preserves your legacy because it builds habits. Habits become character. Character becomes results, and results are what history remembers. Excuses are easy. Discipline is hard. That's why most people never achieve what they are capable of achieving. That's why most people give up before they get started. That's why most people drift through life, blaming circumstances, blaming people, blaming the world, blaming themselves, never taking the responsibility that would actually change their life. Excuses are comfortable. Discipline is uncomfortable. Discipline is uncomfortable. Discipline requires courage, strength, and perseverance. Discipline requires patience. Discipline requires consistency. Discipline is often lonely, but the people who embrace it, the people who fight for it, the people who reject excuses every single day, they are the ones who leave a legacy. Legacy is fragile. It can be erased in a moment by repeated inaction. Every time you choose an excuse over effort, every time you delay, every time you quit mentally before you even start physically, you are chipping away at what could have been. People often focus on grand gestures, massive achievements, monumental breakthroughs. But legacy is not built in one moment. It is built daily. It is built consistently. And if you allow excuses to dominate your daily decisions, then your legacy will be nothing but missed opportunities, unfulfilled potential, and regret. Discipline is like armor. Every choice you make that rejects excuses, every action you take that aligns with your commitments, every time you show up when you don't feel like it, you are building armor for your future. That armor protects your legacy. It preserves your potential. It ensures that one day, when people look back at your life, they see a story of action, of persistence, of resilience, of determination. They see someone who refused to let circumstances dictate their destiny. They see someone who took responsibility for their life, even when it was uncomfortable, inconvenient, or hard. That's what discipline does. That's how it preserves legacy. Excuses are thieves. They steal your time. They steal your focus. They steal your energy. They steal your results. They make you believe that you are doing the right thing when you are actually sabotaging yourself. Discipline is a shield against that theft. Discipline ensures that every hour, every effort, every choice you make contributes to the life you are building, to the impact you are creating, to the legacy you are leaving behind. Discipline converts potential into reality. Excuses convert potential into regret. Every time you hear yourself saying, I can't because, recognize it for what it is. It is a decision to trade action for comfort. It is a decision to let your dreams wait. It is a decision to weaken your future. And it's a decision to erode the legacy you could have built. Excuses sound reasonable, but they sound justified. They sound logical, but they are poisonous. They are quiet killers of potential. They are silent erasers of legacy. Discipline requires self-awareness. It requires you to recognize the excuses you are making. It requires you to question the stories you tell yourself. It requires you to confront the lies you believe about why you can't. And then it requires you to act anyway. Discipline is not the absence of difficulty. Discipline is choosing to act despite difficulty. Discipline is showing up when you don't want to. Discipline is moving forward when everything in you wants to stay still. Discipline is doing the work even when the path is unclear, even when the results are delayed, even when nobody is watching. That is what preserves legacy. That is what ensures you leave a mark that cannot be erased. Excuses create a false sense of security. They make you feel safe because you are avoiding responsibility. They make you feel justified because you are blaming circumstances. They make you feel comfortable because you are avoiding discomfort. But that security is an illusion. That comfort is temporary. That justification is meaningless to the life you are trying to build. Excuses will never deliver results. They will never create impact. They will never preserve your legacy. Discipline is the reality that delivers results, impact, and legacy. Every day you make a choice. Every morning you wake up and decide, will I let excuses control me, or will I take responsibility? Will I let comfort dictate my actions, or will I embrace discipline? Will I trade temporary relief for permanent impact, or will I trade permanent results for temporary satisfaction? The life you want, the impact you desire, the legacy you hope to leave, none of that will come to the person who chooses excuses over discipline. Every choice counts. Every moment matters. Every decision builds or erases your legacy. Excuses also erode confidence. Every time you justify an action, you reinforce doubt. You reinforce fear. You reinforce weakness. You train your mind to believe that giving up is acceptable. You train your future self to avoid responsibility. You slowly teach yourself that you are not capable of greatness, and that slow erosion of confidence is dangerous. Discipline, on the other hand, builds confidence. Discipline proves to yourself that you are capable. Discipline shows you that you can endure. Discipline teaches you that effort produces results. Discipline reinforces your identity as someone who gets things done, someone who overcomes obstacles, someone who leaves a mark. The people who succeed, the people who leave a legacy, the people whose names are remembered long after they are gone, are not people who avoided difficulty. They are not people who have perfect circumstances. They are not people who never face setbacks. They are people who master the art of discipline. They are people who refused excuses. They are people who acted regardless of how they felt, regardless of how they were treated, regardless of what obstacles appeared. They are people who understood that every action mattered, that every choice mattered, that every day mattered. Excuses erase legacy because they are contagious. Once you start making them, you start justifying other inaction. One excuse leads to another. One delay leads to another. One compromise leads to another. Before you know it, your life is filled with half-finished projects, unfulfilled promises, abandoned dreams, and wasted potential. Discipline preserves legacy because it creates momentum. Every day you reject excuses, every day you choose action, you are building a chain of progress that cannot be broken. Discipline compounds over time. Discipline creates unstoppable force. Discipline ensures that your legacy is protected. Discipline is also about long-term thinking. It is about understanding that the results you want will not come instantly. It is about delaying gratification, sacrificing comfort, and pushing through when immediate rewards are not visible. Excuses focus on the short term. Excuses seek comfort now. Excuses avoid pain today. Excuses are selfish. Discipline is visionary. Discipline sacrifices for the sake of tomorrow. Discipline understands that legacy is the result of consistent, intentional, persistent effort over time. That is why discipline preserves it. Every time you practice discipline, you are building history. You are creating evidence that you can be counted on. You are proving that you are not a slave to circumstances. You are proving that you are capable of greatness. You are protecting the legacy that will speak for you long after you are gone. Excuses destroy that evidence. Excuses make your story one of regret. Excuses make your impact smaller than could have been. Excuses steal your potential quietly, one day at a time. Discipline fights that threat. Discipline defends your future. Discipline preserves what matters most. If you want to leave a mark, you must embrace discipline. You must reject excuses. You must show up even when you don't feel like it. You must do the work even when it's uncomfortable. You must keep going when results are delayed. You must persevere when no one is watching. You must push yourself past laziness, fear, distraction, and doubt. You must act with intention every single day, because every day you act with discipline, your legacy is strengthened. Every day you let excuses win, your legacy is weakened. Discipline is not about being perfect. It is not about never making mistakes. It is about taking responsibility for your actions. It is about honoring your commitments. It is about choosing action over inaction, effort over comfort, long-term gain over short-term pleasure. Discipline is about understanding that the life you want is not given, is earned. Discipline is about understanding that excuses are cheap, but results are priceless. Discipline preserves legacy because it ensures that your story is one of action, impact, and achievement, not one of regret, avoidance, and wasted potential. Excuses are seductive because they feel good in the moment. They make you feel justified. They make you feel safe. They make you feel like you're being reasonable. But that momentary comfort comes at a cost. That cost is your potential. That cost is your results. That cost is your legacy. Discipline may be uncomfortable now, but it pays dividends for the rest of your life. Discipline builds a future worth living. Discipline creates a legacy worth leaving. The unspoken truth is this: if you want to leave a legacy, you must be ruthless with excuses. You must stop justifying inaction. You must stop allowing fear, doubt, and comfort to dictate your life. You must take full responsibility for your choices, your actions, and your results. You must show up every day, regardless of circumstances, regardless of feelings, regardless of obstacles. That is what separates the average from the extraordinary. That is what separates those who are remembered from those who are forgotten. That is what preserves legacy. Most people don't realize this, but the moment you quit, something invisible dies. Not loudly, not dramatically. It doesn't fall apart in front of an audience. It quietly stops growing. When you quit, your potential doesn't disappear instantly, but it freezes. It stays stuck at the level where you walked away. And years later, when you wonder what could have been, what you're really looking at is the exact moment you decided to stop. Quitting always feels justified in the moment. It comes with reasons that sound logical, even responsible. You tell yourself you're tired, overwhelmed, misunderstood, underpaid, unappreciated. You convince yourself that stepping away is self-care, that stopping is wisdom, that quitting is maturity. But here's the truth most people won't tell you. Quitting is rarely about lack of ability. It's about lack of endurance. Legacy has never belonged to the most gifted. It has always belonged to the ones who stayed. Every meaningful legacy requires time, and time demands patience. But patience is painful when results are slow. That's when quitting whispers to you. It doesn't shout. It doesn't threaten. It gently suggests that you deserve better, that you've done enough, that maybe this path isn't for you. And if you're not careful, you'll confuse discomfort with direction. You'll think resistance means stop, when resistance is often proof that you're exactly where growth happens. Quitting gives instant relief. That's why it's so dangerous. The pressure lifts. The struggle pauses. The expectations disappear. For a moment, you feel lighter, but relief is temporary. Regret lasts much longer because one day, when the emotions settle, you're left with a haunting question. What if I had stayed? What if I had endured just a little longer? What if the breakthrough was closer than I realized? Legacy doesn't grow in comfort, it grows in continuation. It grows when you decide to show up again after failing. It grows when you refuse to let one bad season define your entire story. It grows when you stay committed, even when the passion fades and the process feels repetitive. Quitting interrupts momentum. Momentum is fragile. Once broken, it takes far more energy to restart than it does to maintain. Most people underestimate how close they are to change. When they quit, they measure progress emotionally instead of structurally. They don't see the internal shifts, the invisible strengthening, the subtle alignment happening beneath the surface. Growth is often silent before it's obvious. And when you quit too soon, you walk away from results that were already forming, just not visible yet. When you quit, you don't just stop the work. You stop becoming. Every challenge you avoid was shaping your character. Every obstacle you faced was sharpening your discipline. Every delay was training your patience. Quitting removes the pressure, but it also removes the transformation. You don't just lose the outcome. You lose the version of yourself you were supposed to grow into along the way. Legacy is cumulative. It's built layer by layer, day by day, decision by decision. One quit doesn't always destroy everything, but repeated quitting creates a pattern. And patterns become identity. You start to see yourself as someone who doesn't finish, someone who stops when it gets hard, someone who moves on instead of pushing through. That identity becomes the ceiling on your future. The most painful part of quitting is not public failure. It's private disappointment. It's knowing you didn't reach the limits of your own potential. It's carrying unfinished chapters in your mind. It's seeing others succeed on paths you once walked and wondering why they made it and you didn't. Often the difference isn't intelligence or opportunity. It's endurance. When you quit, time doesn't stop. Life moves on, but growth pauses. And while others are stacking experience, building resilience, refining skills, you're standing still, waiting for a perfect moment to start again. But momentum doesn't come from waiting. It comes from staying in motion, even when the pace is slow. Legacy requires stubborn faith. Faith that the work matters even when the rewards are delayed. Faith that consistency compounds even when progress feels invisible. Faith that showing up today is shaping tomorrow, even if today feels insignificant. Quitting replaces faith with short-term thinking. It trades long-term impact for immediate comfort. The people we admire most didn't avoid quitting thoughts. They had them. They felt exhaustion. They felt doubt. They questioned themselves. The difference is they didn't let those moments make permanent decisions. They understood that feelings pass, but consequences remain. They stayed long enough for discipline to outlast emotion. Every time you don't quit, you add a brick to your legacy. Every time you push through resistance, you strengthen your foundation. Every time you finish what you wanted to abandon, you expand your capacity. Staying builds confidence. Endurance builds authority. And authority is what makes a legacy believable. When you quit, you also send a message to those watching you, even if you don't realize it. Your children, your peers, your community, your future self. You teach them what's acceptable when things get hard. Legacy isn't just what you achieve, it's what you model. And perseverance is one of the most powerful lessons a life can teach. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to move fast. You don't need constant wins. You just need to keep going. Progress interrupted too often never compounds. Momentum lost too frequently never accelerates. Legacy demands continuity. There will always be a reason to quit. Always. Circumstances will change. People will disappoint you. Energy will fluctuate. Results will delay. If quitting is an option, eventually you'll take it. But if continuing is your identity, you'll find a way forward even when the path isn't clear. When you quit, your story doesn't end, but its depth does. You live a life of restarts instead of completion, beginnings instead of mastery, attempts instead of impact. Staying allows depth. Staying allows refinement. Staying allows excellence to emerge. Legacy doesn't require dramatic moments. It requires staying when the drama fades. When the excitement is gone. When nobody is cheering. When the work feels ordinary again. Those moments decide whether your legacy keeps growing or quietly stops. One day, you'll look back at this season. You either see it as the moment you endured and evolved, or the moment you walked away and wondered forever. The difference is one decision repeated daily. Don't quit. You may slow down. You may adjust. You may rest. But don't quit. Because the moment you quit, your legacy stops growing. And the moment you stay, even imperfectly, even quietly, even painfully, your legacy continues to take shape. Every single day, whether you are aware of it or not, you are writing a story about yourself. Not with words, not with posts, not with promises, but with habits. Your daily habits are quietly documenting who you really are, not who you say you want to be. Long after your intentions are forgotten, your habits will still be speaking for you. They are the ink in your biography, and unlike motivation, they never lie. People will one day look at your life and ask how you became who you became. They won't find the answer in one big decision or one emotional moment. They'll find it in patterns. They'll find it in repetition. They'll find it in what you did when nobody was watching, when nobody was reminding you, when nobody was pushing you. Because habits don't just shape outcomes, they shape identity. You don't wake up one day disciplined. You don't wake up successful. You don't wake up respected, successful. You don't wake up respected. You wake up as the result of what you repeatedly practiced. Habits are invisible at first, but they are powerful. They are like compound interest for character. Small choices done daily eventually create massive consequences. The problem is most people want credit for who they wish they were, instead of responsibility for what they practice every day. Your habits reveal your priorities even when your mouth says something else. You can say family matters, but your habits show where your time goes. You can say success matters, but your habits show how you prepare. You can say growth matters, but your habits show whether you are learning or distracting yourself. Habits don't respond to emotion, they respond to repetition. And repetition eventually becomes reputation. Every habit is a vote for the person you are becoming. When you wake up early, you're voting for discipline. When you procrastinate, you're voting for delay. When you study, you're voting for growth. When you scroll endlessly, you're voting for distraction. No single vote defines you, but over time, the votes add up. And one day, the results are undeniable. Most people don't fail because of one bad decision. They fail because of daily neglect. They don't fall apart overnight. They slowly drift, miss routines, broken commitment, small compromises that felt harmless in the moment. But habits don't stay small, they multiply. What you tolerate daily eventually becomes who you are. The scary part is that habits work whether you are intentional or not. If you don't choose your habits, life will choose them for you. Comfort will choose them. Laziness will choose them. Fear will choose them. And then one day you'll look at your life and wonder how you ended up so far from what you wanted. You didn't get there by accident, you got there by habit. Habits are the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. You can dream all you want, but habits do the traveling. You can pray, plan, visualize, and hope, but habits are what move you forward. Without daily alignment, big dreams stay small ideas. Your biography is not being written in chapters of inspiration. It's being written in lines of discipline. Wake up time, work ethic, focus, consistency, integrity. The way you respond to pressure, the way you manage your time, the way you treat people when there's nothing to gain. These moments don't feel important while they're happening, but they are shaping how your story will be remembered. Most people wait for a feeling to change their habits. That's backwards. Feelings follow habits, not the other way around. Confidence comes from preparation. Motivation comes from momentum. Pride comes from progress. If you want to feel different, you have to live different daily. Your habits are training your nervous system, your mindset, your expectation. Your future self is already being prepared by what you do today. Every habit is either making tomorrow easier or harder. When you skip discipline today, tomorrow requires more effort. When you invest today, tomorrow rewards you with momentum. The future doesn't arrive randomly. It arrives fully prepared by your habits. People often ask how long it takes to change a life. The honest answer, one habit at a time. You don't overhaul your entire biography in a week. You change one paragraph, one routine, one daily decision, and then you repeat it until it becomes normal. Transformation is rarely dramatic. It's repetitive. Your habits also determine your ceiling. You can't consistently live below your habits. They set the standard. If your habits are average, your results will be average. If your habits are elite, your outcomes eventually follow. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. What makes habits powerful is that they operate even when motivation is gone. On tired days, on hard days, when doubt is loud, habits carry you when emotions can't. That's why legacy builders protect their routines. They don't negotiate with their habits daily. They commit once and execute repeatedly. Your biography will not be written by what you did once when it was easy. It will be written by what you did daily when it was hard. The early mornings, the late nights, the boring repetitions, the sacrifices nobody saw. That's the ink that doesn't fade. Bad habits don't ruin lives immediately. They erode them quietly. Just like good habits don't change lives instantly, they build them slowly. That's why people underestimate habits. They don't see the danger until it's deep. They don't see the progress until it's undeniable. One of the greatest lies people believe is that they'll fix things later. Later is a habit. Delay is a habit. Avoidance is a habit. And those habits write a story of regret. The biography you're writing doesn't care about your excuses. It only records your actions. Discipline is not punishment. It's authorship. It's deciding what kind of story you want told about you and then living in a way that supports it daily. You don't accidentally write a powerful biography. You live it intentionally. Your habits also teach people how to see you. Reliability comes from consistency. Respect comes from follow through. Trust comes from patterns. People don't trust words. They trust habits. When your actions match daily, your credibility grows. You can't hide from your habits. They show up in your health, your finances, your relationships, your mindset. Your body reflects your eating habits. Your bank account reflects your spending habits. Your confidence reflects your preparation habits. Your peace reflects your thought habits. Even your inner dialogue is a habit. The way you talk to yourself daily becomes your internal environment. If you rehearse fear, fear grows. If you rehearse belief, belief strengthens. Thoughts repeated become beliefs live. At the end of your life, nobody will ask how motivated you felt. They will look at what you built, what you finished, who you became. And all of that will trace back to habits, the unseen, uncelebrated, ordinary actions repeated over time. You don't need to be extreme. You need to be consistent. You don't need perfect habits. You need honest ones. Ones you can sustain. Ones that align with the future you claim to want. Every morning you wake up, you pick up the pen again. You write another line, another sentence, another page. The question is not whether your biography is being written. The question is whether you like the story your habits are telling. If you don't, the power to edit it is still in your hands. Not with a speech, not with a promise, but with a habit. Today, and then tomorrow, and then again. Because in the end, your daily habits won't just describe your life. They will define it. Most people think legacy is something loud, something public, something that gets recognized, rewarded, remembered by crowds. They imagine legacy as trophies, titles, headlines, or praise. But real legacy is quiet. It is formed in silence, in private moments, in decisions nobody sees, and sacrifices nobody applauds. Legacy is who you become when there's no audience, no pressure to perform, and no one to impress. When nobody is watching, the truth shows up. That's when character speaks. Not the version we present on good days, but the version that exists when the spotlight is gone. Anyone can perform when people are watching. Anyone can act disciplined when there's accountability. But who are you when there are no consequences, no rewards, no witnesses? That person is the foundation of your legacy. Prophecy reveals priorities. What you choose to do in your alone time is what you value most. When nobody is watching, do you prepare or procrastinate? Do you grow or distract yourself? Do you tell yourself the truth or make excuses? These moments don't feel important while they're happening, but they are shaping your future self. A legacy doesn't come from what you do occasionally in public. It comes from what you do consistently in private. Integrity lives where nobody can correct you. It's easy to look honest when rules are enforced. It's harder to stay honest when shortcuts are available. The shortcuts don't just change outcomes. They change you. Every private compromise trains you to lower your standards. Over time, those lower standards become your identity. And identity determines destiny. Most people fail quietly long before they fail publicly. The public failure is just the echo of private neglect. Missed routines, broken promises to self, small acts of laziness, silent dishonesty. Nobody saw them, but they mattered. Because legacy is not built in exposure. It is built in consistency of character. When nobody is watching, discipline becomes a choice instead of a requirement. You wake up early, not because you have to, but because you respect the future you are building. You prepare not because you're being judged, but because excellence has become your standard. That's when discipline stops feeling like effort and starts becoming identity. Your private life is your training ground. Every unseen moment is either strengthening or weakening you. When you do the work in private, public performance becomes natural. When you avoid the work in private, public pressure exposes you. You can't fake debt. It's earned in isolation. Most people want recognition without refinement. They want applause without preparation. But preparation is lonely. Growth is quiet, and consistency is often boring. That's why few people build lasting legacies. Not because they aren't capable, but because they aren't willing to become disciplined when no one is watching. Who you are in private eventually leaks into public. Character always shows up. You can hide it for a while, but not forever. Your habits, your attitudes, your standards, your integrity, they reveal themselves over time. Legacy is simply the long-term exposure of who you've been becoming in private. When nobody is watching, excuses feel safer. You can delay, you can stop, you can lower the bar. No one will call you out. But every excuse you accept privately weakens your self-respect. And self-respect is the fuel of consistency. Without it, discipline collapses. The strongest people don't need supervision. They don't need reminders. They don't need pressure. No, I need pressure. They move with internal standard. They show up because that's who they are. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on identity, and identity is built alone. Your legacy will not be defined by how you acted on your best days. It will be defined by how you behaved on your hardest ones, especially when nobody knew how hard it was. When you were tired, when you were discouraged, when quitting would have gone unnoticed. Staying in those moments is what builds legacy. Solitude reveals whether you are disciplined or just obedient. Obedience depends on authority. Discipline depends on values removed. Obedience removed, obedience fades. When values are internalized, discipline remains. Legacy belongs to those who internalize standards. When nobody's watching, you learn how you truly speak to yourself. Your inner dialogue becomes your environment. If you encourage yourself, you grow. If you criticize yourself destructively, you shrink. If you lie to yourself, you stagnate. The private conversations you repeat become the beliefs you live. Legacy isn't about being perfect in private. It's about being honest, owning weaknesses, correcting mistakes, choosing growth even when no one is keeping score. Progress made in private compounds quietly until it becomes undeniable. The work done in isolation prepares you for moments of exposure. When opportunity arrives, you won't rise to the occasion. You'll fall to the level of your private preparation. That's why unseen work matters more than visible success. Most people chase validation. Legacy builders chase alignment. Alignment between values and actions. Alignment between words and habits. Alignment between public image and private reality. When those align, you become unshakable. When nobody is watching, consistency becomes worship to your future self. It's an act of respect. You're telling tomorrow, I cared enough today to prepare you. And tomorrow responds with confidence, competence, and credibility. Your private discipline also impacts others, even if they never see it directly. The strength you build shows up in how you lead, how you love, how you serve, how you endure. Legacy is not just what people remember about you. It's what they receive from who you became. You don't need an audience to build something meaningful. You need standards. You need patience. You need courage to keep going without applause. Silence is not absence of progress. It is often proof that something real is being built. At the end of your life, the loud moments will fade. The titles will blur. The praise will quiet down. Who you became will remain, your character. Your discipline, your consistency, that is what endures. Legacy is not created on stages. It is created in solitude, in rooms where no one claps, in moments where quitting would have been easy and unnoticed, in decisions that only you knew about. So ask yourself this not once, but daily. If nobody ever sees this, will I still do it? If the answer is yes, you are building a legacy that cannot be taken away. Because legacy is who you become when nobody is watching. So now it comes down to this moment. Not the words you just heard, but the choices you will make after the sound fades. Because speeches don't change lives. Decisions do. And the truth is, everything we talked about was never meant to inspire you for a moment. It was meant to confront you for a lifetime. Legacy is not something you announce. It is something you live quietly, daily, relentlessly. It's not built in crowds, but in corners. Not in applause, but in repetition. Not in intention, but in execution. And whether you accept it or not, your legacy is already in motion. Every day you wake up, it either grows stronger or weaker. There is no pause button. You don't need to be famous to be impactful. You don't need millions to be meaningful. You don't need perfection to be powerful. What you need is consistency when it's uncomfortable, discipline when it's boring, integrity when it's inconvenient. Because long after your words are forgotten, your patterns will still be speaking. One day people will study your life, even if only silently. Your children, your family, your community, maybe strangers who never met you but felt the ripple of your choices. And they won't remember how many times you talk about change. They will remember what you modeled. They will remember how you handled pressure, how you treated people when there was nothing to gain, how you kept showing up when quitting would have been easier. The world is full of people who started strong, but legacy belongs to those who finished well. It belongs to those who stayed when it got lonely, who worked when it was boring, who believed when there was no proof yet, who built when nobody was watching. You are not behind. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. But you are responsible for what you do with today. Responsible for the habits you protect. Responsible for the standards you accept. Responsible for the excuses you release. Stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. But discipline can be trained. Consistency can be chosen. Identity can be rebuilt. You don't rise by feeling better. You rise by doing better daily. There will be days you don't feel strong, days you doubt yourself, days you question the path. That's normal. What matters is not whether you feel resistance, but whether you surrender to it. Feelings are temporary. Legacy is permanent. Every time you choose effort over comfort, you are investing in a future version of yourself who will be grateful you didn't quit. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of confidence, leadership, and impact. Remember this, small things are never small when they are done consistently. The early mornings, the extra preparation, the honest choices, the unseen discipline, these are not insignificant, they are sacred. They are shaping who you are becoming. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do the right things repeatedly. One habit, one routine, one disciplined choice at a time. That's how lives change. That's how legacies are formed. When the world isn't watching, that's when it matters most. That's when standards are revealed. That's when character is trained. That's when integrity is proven. Anyone can shine under lights. You can grow in silence. Don't underestimate the power of staying committed, staying focused, staying disciplined, staying honest, staying patient. Staying when the results are slow and the work feels ordinary. Staying is rare. Staying is powerful. Staying is legacy. Years from now, you won't regret the nights you worked instead of quitting. You won't regret the discipline you practiced. You won't regret the standards you held. You will only regret the moments you compromised the future for temporary comfort. Your life does not need to be loud to be legendary. It needs to be aligned. Aligned with values, aligned with habits, aligned with truth. When your private life and public life match, you become unshakable. You don't build legacy by chasing recognition. You build it by chasing excellence when recognition is absent. You don't need approval to do what's right. You don't need applause to stay disciplined. You need conviction. Though when you leave this moment, don't ask yourself how inspired you feel. Ask yourself what you are committed to doing consistently. Ask yourself what habit you will protect. Ask yourself what excuse you will no longer tolerate. Legacy is not something you figure out later. It is something you practice now. Today is not just another day. They're not just another day. It is another chance to become the kind of person your future will thank. Do the work when nobody sees it. Show up when nobody expects it. Stay disciplined when nobody enforces it. Because one day when people look at your life and wonder how it happened, the answer will be simple. You stayed. You stayed when others quit. You stayed when it was boring. You stayed when it was hard. You stayed when nobody was watching. And that is how your consistency became your legacy. You don't need more motivation. You need more consistency. Do it tired. Do it scared. Do it without recognition. Because long after motivation is forgotten, consistency will still be speaking your name. And that's how legacy is built.